Fox Sports.
We are St. Louis.
Yesterday was a tough afternoon to finish up the road trip, and now St. Louis is back at home. This afternoon, they begin a homestand of 6 games in the first of 3 against the New York Mets. The Cardinals, a half-game lead for the second wild card spot over Los Angeles. They are 3 back of Atlanta. And what does being back at home mean? Well, since July 1st, the Cardinals, along with Oakland, 23-8, one of the best records in Major League Baseball. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Happy Labor Day. Glad that you could spend some time with us here on Fox Sports Midwest. The Mets, the Cardinals. The Cardinals are facing some teams that overall this year haven't played well, but for whatever reason, these teams now are all of a sudden hot.
Yeah, and it is nice to be home. The Cardinals will be playing 9 straight games against sub-500 teams, but all 3 of those teams are the hottest teams in the National League right now. So the Cardinals have got to start thinking wild card. I think we got to stop worrying about Cincinnati right now and take care of business here at home.
All right, Joe Kelly gets the start for St. Louis. It's the Mets and Cardinals. We'll take you inside the seats when we come back. Labor Day in downtown St. Louis. It's another edition of Up for Grabs as we head to our first pitch.
Not going to get him down.
that might have been some cotton candy here at the ballpark.
Nice catch. Hat trick.
Good concentration.
That was on shirt section right there.
All right, take a look.
Look out.
Sends the bat head into the seats.
Nice catch out there in the seats.
Wow.
No splinters.
That is a future rock star if I've ever seen one.
Nice play down there. They do have gamer babes in Houston.
Yeah, the life of the party.
That's not the first place she's ever been.
In the air to right field.
Off the fingertips of that fan.
They
hard time
never,
now.
ever get another chance like that again.
High drive. This will get out. Screamer. A 3-run homer for Jay Bruce.
If it comes, boy, you got to rise to the occasion.
That guy's inflicted a lot of damage against the Astros. Just embarrassing, that's all.
That'll make the not-so-great plays.
Midwest, it's a look at 5 to fear this homestand. 3 with the Mets, 3 with Milwaukee. 5 players to watch out for. We begin with Lucas Duda. He has spent most of the second half at AAA for the Mets, trying to rediscover his swing. But back in June, he was locked in against the Redbirds, collecting 2 home runs and 6 RBIs in 4 games. He owns a .346 average against St. Louis in his brief Major League career. R.A. Dickey has to be the front runner right now for the NL Cy Young Award. He's tied for first in wins, second in ERA, third in strikeouts. He'll start Wednesday and will try to follow up his complete game shutout against St. Louis back in June. Corey Hart of the Milwaukee Brewers. No player has more home runs against the Cardinals in the last 5 seasons than Corey Hart with 14. 4 of those home runs are from this year, and he has an 8-game hitting streak against St. Louis. Mike Fiers started the season almost 2 months late, and he still might win the NL's Rookie of the Year award. He owns one of the league's lowest ERAs since his debut in late May, and will start this weekend after tossing 7 shutout innings against St. Louis back in July. And finally, it's Ryan Braun. 2011 was one of the best in franchise history. So far, his 2012 has been even better. He's the only National League player with more than 30 home runs, and his 37 this season already ties a career high. The Cardinals are back home this afternoon, game 1 of a 3-game set. You're watching Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest.
St. Louis, where Bill Finley and his crew are putting the finishing touches on the field. It's Joe Kelly at 4-6 getting the start for St. Louis. Cardinals and Mets, Labor Day next. Is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake, just no equal. Rain has stayed away, and a look at the Mets lineup. Ruben Tejada, Daniel Murphy and David Wright, Ike Davis, Lucas Duda, Mike Baxter, Kelly Shopik, Andres Torres, and Colin McHugh. Joe Kelly, young right-hander, gets the start. He's back in the rotation for St. Louis.
A 5-inning start in his last outing against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it was not his best. 8 hits, 5 runs. But Joe Kelly has been very good as a rookie. The walk-strikeout ratio is good. And the real question for him is, will his breaking pitch be sharp and effective? That's what makes him a notch above others.
Terry Collins and the Mets, it's been an up-and-down season for them. The fact that they got off to a great start, they were in the pennant race for about half the year, and they've fallen off here in the second half, but they've gotten hot. Mets have won 3 straight series, and right now they're 5-1 on their current 9-game road trip. Cardinals defense behind Joe Kelly this afternoon with Holiday, Jay, and Craig is in right. Beltran hurt his leg yesterday, so he'll sit this one out. Freeze, Descalso, Schumacher, Carpenter along the infield. Molina back in there behind the plate. And the Cardinals defense is brought to you by Dobbs. Very frustrating road trip, at least the way it ended for Mike Matheny and the Cardinals, going 4-6 and trying to turn it around here at home.
Yeah, long trip for everybody, but the Cardinals have been much better at home. 23-8 since the 1st of July, so maybe this is just what the Redbirds need.
Ruben Tejada is hitting .295, and he looks at a fastball and a strike. Oh, 0-1 pitch. That's popped foul and out of play. It's 79 degrees on this Labor Day.
I say the curveball is important for Joe Kelly, not because that's his best pitch. His fastball is his best pitch. But when the curveball is sharp, the fastball gets that much better, and that's when he gets his strikeouts. When he's got a couple of pitches that batters have to consider, they're not going to just eliminate the curveball and look for fastballs.
Boy, how tough is Yadier Molina, who is banged up, sore shoulder, collision on the road trip. Also took a ball off the inside of his leg near the knee a couple of days ago. But back in there, he knows the importance of this homestand.
Been very durable, catches a lot of innings year after year.
1-2 is hit out of play. Nearly caught the bat boy, who just got out of the way. Thank goodness.
It was remarkable that Yadier Molina wanted to play the day after he was slammed at the plate by Josh Harrison. He wanted to play that next day and was lobbying for it. Text Mike Matheny early in the morning after having headaches the night before. That shows how tough he is.
1-2 pitch. Tejada pulls it foul. Matchups for this series have a right-handed pitcher, Matt Harvey, going for the Mets tomorrow night against Jaime Garcia, who's much different when he pitches at home. R.A. Dickey on Wednesday against Adam Wainwright. Good matchup there. 1-2 pitch again. There's that breaking ball taken low and outside. Evens it up. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jake Westbrook there on the right with Adam Wainwright on the left of that picture you see on your screen. Westbrook pitched fairly well yesterday. A strikeout held on to by Yadier Molina, and that's how we start the game.
Mets offense is 9th in the National League. They have a couple of hitters in this lineup you have to worry about. The guy clearly you have to worry about the most is David Wright, who is having another monster year. A couple of left-handers, Ike Davis and Lucas Duda, will be a challenge as well for Joe Kelly.
Mets felt that coming into the season, they had to have Daniel Murphy in there just about every day. He's hitting .285, 4 home runs. He's driven in 53. He's had back-to-back seasons with knee injuries and trying to turn a double play, which is not his natural position, but they wanted to get his bat in the lineup. They figured that was the way to do it, but he paid a price. The 2-0 pitch. And that's a base hit into left center field. And it brings in a outstanding player, third baseman David Wright. Last 8 games overall. Toyota keys to the game. Mets 7-1, and their pitching has just been terrific, both starters and the relievers.
And some young pitchers in that mix as well. 10 home runs, and they've only allowed 2. And Terry Collins really has gotten a lift from Colin McHugh and a couple of other young pitchers. Their bullpen's been much, much better. May not be the right time to be playing the New York Mets.
In steps David Wright, 5th in the majors. On base percentage at .405. He's 4th in doubles with 37. 10th in the league in hitting at .314. We saw them a couple of months ago at Citi Field. Many thought he was the front runner to win a batting championship because his back is finally healthy. Playing every day. Nasty pitch by Kelly.
That's that breaking ball, very sharp. Perfect spot for it, down and away. Downward tilt.
Murphy is the runner at first. No balls, 2 strikes on the Mets third baseman David Wright. Slowly hit to short. Descalso to second, out there, and a high throw. And Murphy taking out his counterpart Skip Schumacher at second base. I give Skip Schumacher a ton of credit in the fact that he's playing out of position still. Second base not being his natural position, but the coaching staff talks about how Skip is willing to hang in there against anybody. He stays in there almost to a fault too late.
That throw just gets away from him.
Yep, that time it did.
Tried to back off and go. You can either go back to the outfield or come through the bag, go through the infield, or go straight up. And he makes the right move there to get away from Murphy, and I think the throw just sailed on him.
Now it's Ike Davis. Davis, good power numbers with 25 home runs. He's driven in 74 and hitting just .224.
Should have been a double play, but the key to that at bat with David Wright was the curveball he threw away. Then he came back in with the fastball, and that's why Wright wasn't able to get the head out and just hit it on the ground, got jammed.
1-0 pitch. Ground ball to the right side on the outfield grass. About 10 feet or so with Schumacher. The charts tell the Cardinals put a little shift on. It pays off. No score after a half inning. We saw that on the recent road trip. John Jay leads it off, and then Matt Carpenter and Matt Holliday here in the first. Then Craig, Molina, Freese, Schumacher, Descalso, Kelly. On paper, this can be a devastating lineup. You see all those averages, 300 or above. And that's minus Carlos Beltran and Lance Berkman, both on the bench today. Colin McHugh will get the start. Took a no decision in his major league debut back on August 23rd.
Yeah, you'd think he would be intimidated by that Cardinal lineup and all the 300 hitters, all the home runs and RBIs, but certainly wasn't intimidated in his first outing against the Rockies. And this is a guy that is not overpowering. You see the 9 strikeouts, you think, okay, well, this guy must be a flamethrower. Well, he's not. He throws 90-91, sinker, slider, changeup, very basic kind of stuff. 18th round draft choice from a small college in Georgia, has just kind of come out of nowhere for the Mets.
First pitch to John Jay. A strike at the knees at 89 miles an hour. Jay yet again making some terrific plays in Washington defensively. Fights that off, fouled back 0-2. McHugh, by the way, in that debut against the Rockies, an even 100 pitches, 1 walk in his debut, and he strikes out 9.
7-9 with a 2.91 ERA in AAA, and so he earned the call up. Some injuries to this Mets rotation. Dylan G is out for the season. So is Pelfrey and Santana.
Jay shoots it the other way. This could be trouble, and it is. Into the corner it goes. Jay on his way to second. He's thinking 3. Leadoff triple for John Jay.
Cardinals had 2 or 3 balls hit just like this in Washington, D.C. that were caught by the left fielder who's playing down the line. John Jay had one of them, but this one slices enough to get away from Lucas Duda, and it goes to the corner. He makes the effort, but once he takes that angle, there's no stopping John Jay from taking 3.
Matt Carpenter, along with Daniel Descalso, lead the team in triples. They have 5 each. The Cardinals as a team with 31. And that was for John Jay, his 4th triple of the season. Carpenter, first pitch fouled back. Tough to keep this guy right now out of the lineup, especially when you couple his numbers with the ineffectiveness of Berkman, not knowing what he might be able to do, swinging the bat and certainly running. And then the other aspect of this now is Carlos Beltran.
A lot of good at-bats for Matt Carpenter, 368 on the road trip. He did have an ankle issue that happened during infield practice, and he turned it a bit and was questionable for a couple of days, but really he's putting a lot of quality at-bats in there, and you would like to have a healthy, on-time Carlos Beltran, but unfortunately that's not the case right now for St. Louis.
Today, the 49th start for Carpenter this season. And in his starts, Ricky's batting .337. And we know how dangerous he's been as far as those pinch hit RBIs. He's been one of the best statistically in the RBIs pinch hitting role since back in the 1950s. He's had a very good year. The 2-1 pitch. Carpenter hits it sharply to second, and John Jay will score. It's 1-0 St. Louis as Carpenter drives in his 37th here in the first inning. Good start for the Cardinals. Let's take a look at the Dobbs Mets defense. Duda, Torres, and Baxter in the outfield. Wright, Tejada, Murphy, and Davis along the infield. Kelly Shopik. They picked him up in a trade, and he's catching McHugh.
Good fundamental baseball for Carpenter there. You'd say, well, that's just a ground out to second base, but that's a guy, situational hitting, doing his job, getting the RBI. That's all you can ask.
Here's Holiday. It is 25th home run on Saturday. Looks at a strike. He had a couple of hits yesterday against Steven Strasburg.
I was almost going to say it was fun to watch him pitch, and then I realized that fun's probably not the right word, but to see Strasburg live in a big league game other than spring training, really for the first time, see why everybody gets excited about him, and certainly was a challenge for the Cardinals to try to get anything going against a guy throwing 97 with a great changeup and a great curveball.
Here's a high fly ball out to deep right field. That will stay in the ballpark, and the catch made by Baxter, who grew up a Mets fan in the city. And you might remember Baxter, who's in right field today for the Mets, was in left field the night that Johan Santana pitched his no-hitter and made that courageous, miraculous catch in left field that saved the no-hitter and put him on the disabled list for 6 weeks.
There was some play went crashing into the wall, and there are folks later that said, that wasn't that big a play, that wasn't that hard to catch. Well, I beg to differ.
Me too. Here's Alan Craig. Game number 93 for Allen, and if you couple that with David Freese playing in game number 118, those two have not gone this deep into a season as far as playing games and being healthy with this amount now on their resume. And I think you're always curious to see how a player will finish up a season going down the stretch. Can they hold up? Craig did miss the first month or so.
If Craig and Jay can finish out this season and basically play every day or most days, they'll qualify for the batting title as well. And they would be in the top 10, each of them right now. They just don't have enough at-bats. And I don't see why they wouldn't get them. Why you'd want to have either one of them out of the lineup at all in September, as long as they're healthy and not dragging.
Lots of action going on throughout Major League Baseball this afternoon. Top of 4. Houston leading Pittsburgh 2-0. We'll keep an eye on that. How about the Phillies winning again today? That's in the bottom of the 5th. 3-1 over Cincinnati. Breaking ball, and it's popped up. The catch made by Ike Davis. John Jay, a leadoff triple, comes around to score. 1-0 St. Louis. Champions in action here at Busch Stadium, or when we're on the road as well. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals. There's a look at Mike Baxter, who's in right field this afternoon, but we saw him in left, and this is the catch we're talking about. Off the bat of Molina, no-hitter on the line, and Baxter crashing into the wall and makes that catch and saves the no-hitter.
And again, folks would say that wasn't that great a play. You're talking about a guy running full speed into a wall, and it was certainly an important catch for Johan Santana also. And Santana, by the way, 3-7 with an 8 ERA after that particular day against the Cardinals, which came on June 1st. So the Mets really suffered over the next 2 months and really struggled big time as a team. They just could not win at all, but they're back on track now heading into September.
A strike to Lucas Duda. He's hitting .239, 13 home runs. He's driven in 48. That's strike 2. The Mets have shut down Santana in hopes of having him healthy next year. So to further your point, in his last 5 appearances, he was 0-5 with an ERA close to 16. And you have an interesting debate. Many believe that night was the beginning of him going south, but yet others say you had to go for it. How are you going to convince him to come out of the game? And there's a swing and a miss by Duda and a strikeout. The second of the afternoon for Joe Kelly.
You could also make an argument because they skipped a turn for him. That wasn't a good thing to do. And they actually gave him plenty of rest after that particular start, trying to have some precaution against overusing Santana. But it really just hasn't been him. To lose Dylan G, who was a big part of their rotation a year ago, I mean, you're talking about 2 of your top 5 guys not being able to throw 200 innings. I don't know how you can compete that way.
Now it's Baxter, and he takes a ball. Mets have Santana under control for 2 more seasons, second of which is an option year that they would likely decline. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike, but they are counting on him to come back and pitch every 5th day next year. And it wasn't, they said, the elbow or the shoulder as to why they shut him down. That was just part of it, but also he was dealing with back stiffness. They did an MRI and they saw that there was some concern there as well, so shut him down and get him. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Cardinals have announced that they have recalled Victor Marte to help out their bullpen. The Cardinals had some bullpen issues on the road trip. Really just had a lot of tired relievers, and you had guys that had to throw more innings because the starters haven't gone 6+ in about a week and a half, and you're hoping again that Joe Kelly can do that today. But Mike Matheny was forced to kind of mix and match his bullpen, but Marte is back and ready to go.
Here's a 2-2 outside. Count runs full. That pitch at 96 miles an hour. That's really what caught your eye when Joe Kelly first got here. If you go by the guns, just how hard he was throwing, and consistently has been around that 95, 96 miles an hour mark. That's out of play. Remember, in college he was a closer. They said a hard thrower, and then last year they actually started to skip his side sessions because got that dead arm stage, and they felt it was better to skip those, let him bounce back every 5th day, and that seemed to work. Here's a 3-2 pitch.
He has an interesting delivery. He kind of swings a bit, and he kind of has a, I would say, more like a 100% effort guy than a guy that's maybe just free and easy. And so you'd think a guy that kind of is swinging his arms and his legs and coming a bit across his body would have issues with control, but that really has not been a problem with him this year at all.
That's up the middle and a base hit. So Baxter has the second base hit for the Mets this afternoon. Kelly Shopik will be the hitter.
kind of the swinging delivery and a little bit three-quarter delivery and right back up the box. No time to react.
Former Red Sox catcher. Center of a controversy for a while with Boston and then traded over to the Mets. A lot of talk about what was happening inside that clubhouse behind the scenes and players unhappy with Bobby Valentine. Well, they've taken some of those big personalities and they've moved on from them. Initially drafted by Boston and then this last offseason signed a one-year deal with the Red Sox. Placed the captain for a while there, Jason Varitek.
Well, when a manager loses his team in the middle of the season, you either get rid of the manager or you get rid of the team, and the Red Sox decided to get rid of the team.
And the end of the season, it could be
both.
Yeah, get rid of Bobby Valentine. Short lead at first, and that's taken for a ball inside, 1-1. Cardinals at the start of play today. The second wild card is in play here in this 2012 season. Because of that, Cardinals are just a half game in front of the LA Dodgers. The Red Sox players, many of them shifted to the West Coast, and we'll see them coming up.
There are some that would say, and there's been some conversation about it recently, that the wild card almost encourages mediocrity because you've got this opportunity to kind of sneak in, play well in September and sneak in. Now we have two opportunities to play well and sneak in, and I think there's some merit to that. I think it is no longer a case for the Cardinals where you're thinking that it's possible to catch the Reds. Mathematically, yes. Realistically, not so much.
A high fly ball out to center. John Jay under it, makes the catch. Joe Blanton has not done all that much since being acquired by the Dodgers. Will get the start tonight against San Diego. He's 1-3 with an ERA near 7 in 5 starts with LA. And the Ramirez, Shane Victorino, Beckett, Gonzalez, Nick Punto. A lot of new faces. Runner goes, chance for Yachty, hesitates, and it's into center field. Looked like he could not get it out of the glove. And a stolen base for Baxter.
Long delivery of Joe Kelly. Good jump by Baxter. And he wasn't able to pick up the ball till it got past Descalzo and into center field. That keeps Yadier Molina from picking up an error.
Andres Torres, the 8th place hitter. Ground ball and taken there by Carpenter. He'll step on the bag. The Mets strand a runner. Their second of the afternoon. Molina leads it off when we come back.
Anniversary of the Dan McLaughlin Golf Tournament to benefit the Special Education Foundation. That foundation helps St. Louis children with disabilities achieve success, and Fox Sports Midwest salutes Dan and the donors who've contributed over $1 million over the last 10 years of that tournament. The event is going to be October 8th, and you can get more details at sef-stl.org. And I'd like to add my congratulations to Dan, all of his hard work, as well as those who spend a lot of hours putting on that golf tournament for a very, very good cause.
Thank you very much. I didn't know they were going to do that, so hey,
Well
I'm
deserved.
happy to plug it.
Well deserved.
October 8th at Norwood Hills Country Club, and every dime that comes through the tournament goes straight back to kids here in St. Louis, and we're actually closing in on $2 million after this particular golf tournament will be through. A lot of the money is made that night after the golf outing, and we have a dinner and an auction. So if you don't play golf and you want to come out and support kids and families that need our help, I'd certainly love to have you. October 8th at Norwood Hills.
Outstanding.
A swing and a miss by Molina. The players have been really helpful over the years too, Rick, with the autographs and the memorabilia and the unique things that they can do to help raise money, and a lot of kudos to them as well.
It is a community effort, as always, and the Cardinals have partnered in so many different ways across the community and across Cardinal Nation to make a difference beyond what happens on the field. You need to love the winning tradition of the Cardinals and what it means to wear the birds on the bat, but it really is an us thing. And that is not true in every place that every city we go.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Off the bat of Yadier Molina. A few years ago, if you would have said that Yadier Molina in September, and he's playing a full season, would be 4th overall in the National League in average, people would have thought you're crazy. But there's many inside that clubhouse that did not. They felt that he would develop into a very good hitter, and he has. We were saying the other night, his loss is huge when he's not behind the plate, and that's clearly obvious because he is the best defensive catcher, maybe best defensive player in the game, but his offense is a huge loss if he's not in there.
And so the reality is that sounds almost like when we say that we're insulting Tony Cruz or Brian Anderson or anybody else that's going to take his place. There's Yadi's numbers, 322. David Wright, Matt Holliday, and David Freese all on the leaderboard now in terms of batting average, all here at the ballpark today. But basically what it means is you go back to kind of being average behind the plate, as opposed to having the advantage of having a Molina. You would go back to kind of joining the rest of the pack.
Just saw something that you don't see all that much anymore, Rick, and Daniel Murphy on a ground ball left side, hustling from where he was towards that second base bag, hustling to go back up in case there was a wide throw. I mean, you rarely, if ever, see that anymore.
I'm not sure the last time I did see that. What else you got to do?
Baseball men will tell you on every play there is somewhere to go for everyone if you play it out that way. But Daniel Murphy hustling down the line. Many times you'll see the catcher hustling down the line. And now David Freese at that even 300.
I want to go back, Dan, to the point you were making about Yadier Molina just to finish that. He had 216 in 2006. So you go back those 6 years and say to Cardinal fans that, oh, by the way, he's going to be hitting 322 6 years from now. I think you would get some raised eyebrows.
No doubt. Become a very clutch hitter as well. 2-1 the count. Speaking of clutch, on David Freese.
David ended the Cardinals' misery in the second inning against the Nationals on Saturday with a 2-run shot. The Cardinals had gone 40 innings without an earned run until David delivered against the Nationals. And he had a big day, had 3 hits in that game.
Big crowd here this afternoon. Again, $10 seats available for the ball game tomorrow night and on Wednesday afternoon. Off day on Thursday. Milwaukee in town on Friday night. Cardinals lead it 1-0 thanks to an RBI by Matt Carpenter. Called third strike, and Freeze is frozen at the plate. First strikeout for this right-hander.
Again, not overpowering stuff. That's just kind of your basic curveball. Actually, wasn't a very good one. Just kind of hung on the inside part of the corner. David thought it would be inside, and it just barely tips the inside corner. Watching McHugh throw, and kind of warned about this from Ron Darling, you're going to have a hard time understanding how he struck 9 guys out. Not overpowering, but he mixes his pitches well, and for a young guy, just 25 years of age, has learned some things about how to pitch.
Round ball that is fair. Knocked down. Schumacher is safe. It stayed fair, hugging the line. Mike Davis could not come up with it. Base hit for Skip.
That's his 8th error of the season, and already seen with the Mets defensively, almost like a team of about 10 years ago, where the Mets would just kind of fumble a lot defensively, and some of the fly balls they've seen like they've gotten bad breaks on them, and not sure whether they're going to rule that a hit or an error. I would assume it's an error. And it is. But they are not one of the better National League teams defensively. 12th, in fact, in the league. And we've seen signs of that already in this game.
Here's Daniel Descalso. At the time, a dramatic home run yesterday to tie the game up at 2. His first ever off a left-handed pitcher. That was Burnett. Cardinals, though, eventually relinquished the tie ball game, fell behind 4-2, lost it 4-3. But maybe that hit propels Daniel to a strong September.
Well, we were hoping for both, that it would propel the team to a victory and Daniel to a strong finish. We mentioned how important he has become to the team almost overnight. And the overnight I'm talking about is the injury to Rafael Furcal. He's going to play a lot more. They need him to play flawlessly on the defensive side, and he needs to contribute more offensively. Certainly capable of doing that.
0-2 pitch, outside and high. Joe Kelly is on deck. If Descalso can extend the inning, and we've seen the slide step, we've also seen McHugh other times not as quick to the plate.
And that's the way you control the running game. You vary your looks, you make that nice easy throw to first, and then sometimes you get back on the mound and throw a fast one over there. Dennis Martinez was great at that. He would just throw a nice easy lob, and then he'd throw a bullet right on the inside part of the bag. He had a lot of pickoffs.
1-2 is popped up. Wright will give chase near his dugout and out of play.
And it'll also do something to the hitter at the plate. When the pitcher is varying his times to the plate to hold the runner close and to keep him guessing, it almost acts as a changeup to the hitter, because he's waiting, he's waiting, he's waiting, he's waiting, and then you throw the pitch. You may get him a little over anxious, which over anxious is a word a hitter never wants tied to them. And a pitcher is always trying to create that.
1-2 the count, with 2 outs and a runner at first. Runner goes. Swung on and missed. It's a strikeout. 2 in the inning, 2 in the game. We played 2. Cardinals up by a run. to you by the new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. MyKiaSt.Louis.com. And get the All-American Jack Combo at Jack in the Box. It's a no-nonsense burger with fries and a drink for only $4.99 plus tax at participating stores. A packed house, Labor Day here in St. Louis. Glad you're with us on Fox Sports Midwest. 1-0 St. Louis on a RBI ground out from Matt Carpenter. And so far, Rick, so far so good here with Joe Kelly.
And the thing we were looking for, the slider has been sharp. Throwing a couple of really good ones, particularly the pitch to David Wright, which led to him retiring that very dangerous hitter.
Mets last year at 77 and 85. Tumultuous offseason with their ownership group. Financially, what they had to go through. Payroll went from $142 million to $94, and that was the biggest drop in baseball history.
I had the thought that this would be a very long year for the Mets, so the fact that they are only 6 games under 500 after losing Santana and G and others, pretty impressive.
Descalso on the second base side, and he makes the play. Had to range far to his left at shortstop today and comes up with the first out. So McHugh, still searching for his first major league hit, is out number 1, back to the top of the lineup. I'm with you. I think if you looked at on paper, not knowing what was going to happen with their big stars, David Wright coming back from injury, Jason Bay, who hit a grand slam, by the way, over the weekend and is healthy. Santana, we've talked about. And then a lot of guys you just didn't know what to expect anything from. Not really a track record.
Ike Davis had an injury. A lot of names we hadn't heard of, and you thought, well, this is going to be a long season. The bullpen's not really very solid. They don't really have a closer. And yet they've managed to compete at least close to 500 in the National League East, which we thought would be stronger than it has been. The Phillies really have tailed off, although I wouldn't want to play them right now.
No. I don't know if I ever want to play them with their pitching. Doesn't matter what kind of lineup you have. If you have that kind of pitching, they can shut you down.
Put their A-ball team out there defensively,
right,
with Cliff Lee and Halladay and Hamels. You could lose 3 games.
Ruben Tejada, 2 balls and 1 strike. He struck out first time up. The farm system is not very good. They've cut payroll, so they have to be creative in what they do. John Jay puts it away for out number 2. So 2 outs, nobody on. Follow the Cardinals with MLB.com at Bat12 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry, Windows Mobile, live audio, video highlights. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Cardinals.com for details. Rick, they've hired, and Sandy Alderson is their general manager. Murphy digs in. Remember Paul DePodesta, J.P. Ricciardi, who was the GM with Toronto. So they do have baseball people that are kind of the Moneyball guys to an extent, but do have a history in that role. And the idea is let's try to be as creative as we can to be competitive, and then financially let's get in order, and once we do, we'll start spending again.
Yeah, they were Moneyball guys without any money to start the season, and that will change over time. Again, you mentioned all the court battles and the history of the owners and the problems there, and you know, as time passes, that will get further and further in the rearview mirror, and you can kind of get back to normal a bit. But you have the right baseball guys at the top. There's no question about that. Very well respected, those names you mentioned. And the Mets, playing in the market they play in, don't really want to be mediocre. They want to play in October.
When you're going head to head with the Yankees and other teams around New York that are spending money, the various sports. Keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. You know, you've got to spend money to keep the fans happy, and that's what's expected in New York. There's Terry Collins, the 62-year-old. He replaced Jerry Manuel as the Mets manager last season, went 77 and 85.
Former Cardinal minor league catcher and big league manager Bob Guerin is his bench coach. He's also a Moneyball guy that came from Oakland and managed under Billy Beane there. Bob, very good baseball man. Always good to see him.
A 3-2 pitch. Check swing and did not go. Held up. And the first walk that's issued by the right-hander Joe Kelly. In steps David Wright. Cardinals have some very interesting decisions coming up. Shelby Miller will be promoted, make his major league debut at some point this month. 19th overall pick back in 2009. And the Cardinals are cautiously very optimistic that Chris Carpenter will pitch at some point this season. And what we're hearing is Kelly picks him off. Finish that up on Chris Carpenter momentarily, but Daniel Murphy, who is walked and singled, is picked off. No doubt about that. Sports is proud to support Boys and Girls Club of America. It's a place where youth can reach their full potential. As productive, caring, responsible citizens. To learn more, please visit greatfutures.org/Fox Sports. Nice round of applause, and Joe Kelly was hoping it was for Joe Kelly, but it was for a wedding, marriage proposal here at the ballpark, and we're happy to report she said yes. Quite the lead by Daniel Murphy, and he's picked off by Kelly.
Yeah, and if Joe Kelly can have another 6 innings like his first 3, he'll get all the applause he can handle.
You bet. First pitch is a strike, and just to finish our thoughts on Chris Carpenter, it looks like, Rick, that Carpenter will pitch at some point this year. Now, I asked Mike Matheny, I said, what's the idea? Starting, relieving? And yesterday he said, we're not really sure. We're kind of keeping that really close to the vest because we just want to make sure he's healthy enough to pitch. And then when we hit that road of deciding, as Kelly drives it into left center field, let's watch him run. He can run a bit on his way to second base, and he'll stop there. You know, he was trotting, and they were playing so far in. If he's running hard, you have to wonder if he would have wound up at third.
Well, there's no doubt he could have been at third base. He really did not have that in mind, either out of the box. And once he rounded first, now he's taken a couple of headers rounding the bases before, but he just kind of glides into second right here. And then he picks up Jose Oquendo, and I think Jose was kind of giving him that stare like, hey, you could be over here if you wanted to be. I know he didn't want to run into an out, make a mistake, but bottom line is, it was a nice at-bat for Joe Kelly.
John Jay tripled and scored. Showing bunt. It's a beauty. David Wright only played a first, and a nice pick. One away. 5-3 sacrifice. Another opportunity now for Matt Carpenter. But how about your thoughts on Chris Carpenter?
Well, Chris Carpenter, we look at this bunt attempt and the play by David Wright, off-balance throw. He's very good at that. Outstanding defensive player. But the job was done by John Jay. And, you know, in my mind, Chris Carpenter, the word that I keep hearing is it's realistic for him to return. And so realistic means that's what we're shooting for. But there's A has to happen, then B, C, D, E. And a lot of that will include how does he feel after he throws? Mike Matheny out to check, and we may be finding out why Joe Kelly didn't go from second to third. They're having a conversation and just wonder if he may have strained something, either with the swing or running the bases. It's enough to have a conversation. Jose Oquendo calling Chris Conroy and Mike Matheny over. And nothing different there in that run, but now the conversation may be, why didn't you make it here? Really getting an indication of what the injury may be. At one point you saw him start to kind of grab at his hamstring. May just be a tightness. Well, they will have to watch for that when Joe Kelly goes back out to the mound. We hope he can continue.
Corners are in. Carpenter looks at a strike, and Oquendo, watch him here. Maybe the calf they're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
And I did see Kelly just moments ago try to stretch a little bit
on the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be the issue. Here's an 0-1 pitch to Matt Carpenter. Carpenter drives it into center field. This is well hit at the track, and a heck of a play out there in center field. The catch made by Torres. And Kelly can just walk on home. Both RBIs today for Matt Carpenter. He gave that a ride. 2-0 St. Louis.
And both sound fundamental at bats for Matt Carpenter to get those 2 RBIs. Doesn't have a hit, but keeps getting a lot of high fives in the Cardinals dugout. Joe Kelly, again, deep enough that he could walk home. Nice play by Torres, running into the center field wall. And we'll just have to wait and see if that calf of Joe Kelly is a little strain or if it's something that's going to keep him from continuing. Which may bring us back to the Shelby Miller, Chris Carpenter conversation.
Exactly.
Hopefully not.
2 outs, nobody on, and Holiday swings through a breaking ball for strike 1. Fly to deep right his first time up.
The issue with Chris Carpenter, too, is going to be how deep can he go? How soon can he get ready? And I don't have any doubt that he is working as diligently as possible to make that a possibility. And maybe anybody other than him, you wouldn't say it's realistic. But he's that kind of guy that, you know, when he gets his mind set on something, he's going to do it.
1 ball and 2 strikes. On deck, Alan Craig. Holiday pops it foul.
Very hittable pitch there.
About to say, he got away with that. He hung it. See the patch on the right sleeve. New York Mets kid number 8, honor of Gary Carter, who passed away. He competed against Gary a number of times. Montreal and
Hall of
Mets.
Famer. Hall of Famer, outstanding catcher, all the battles that he had against the Cardinal base stealers of the 80s. Really a very likable guy and really good teammate. When you're playing against him, you know, he'd rub you the wrong way because he just kind of had that flair about him, but certainly one of the game's best, deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and miss seeing Gary.
2-out base hit for Holiday, brings in Alan Craig.
Well, there's no action in the Cardinals bullpen, and that tells me that Joe Kelly, in whatever stretching he's done since he's gotten back into the Cardinals dugout, is at least going to give it a shot. Anybody that's ever had a little calf tug and strain knows that sometimes it's there and it's just a little, sometimes you can work through it, and sometimes it just kind of persists, and then it can get worse too. So we'll have to watch Joe Kelly very closely.
Cardinals with 3 base hits. Jay, Kelly, and Holiday. And Craig takes a ball down and in. You know Mike Matheny quite well, both in the game of baseball and in particular away from Busch Stadium, away from the crowds. How do you think he's handled this year, the ups and downs in that first season of being a manager?
I think he's handled him kind of exactly the way I would expect him to, with a lot of feeling of responsibility on every loss, that it's his fault. And I don't think that that's all good. I mean, I like the fact that Mike is a responsible guy, but you know, he really wears it on his sleeve, and he said that publicly, and I can see him after a loss feeling as if, you know, I did it. And you know, at some point as he matures as a manager, the hope would be that he would be able to let some things go and just find a more of an even keel sense about him. And people may be surprised to hear that because he seems so even keel on the outside. And he is even keel on the outside. You don't see him ranting and raving and throwing things and screaming at people. But that's because he's doing all that inside himself. And you know, just hope long term he can get a little bit more relaxed as a man.
Runners at first and second. Yadier Molina grounded out to short first time up. Outfield is straight away. Yadi drills it out to left. This ball will get down. One hops off the wall. A run will score. Molina is caught up between first and third, but no one was there, and he's back to the bag. 3-0 St. Louis. He smoked that out to left for RBI number 63.
Well, he hits this ball so hard, Alan Craig can't score, and he can't get the second. I mean, it's just a bullet over the left fielder's head. And credit Duda with getting it in a hurry, too. Throw comes into third base, and Molina kind of caught halfway there. Wasn't sure whether he was going to go or not. Craig off the crack of the bat. He's running well, but the ball just hit too hard for Jose Oquendo to send it.
We saw Jose test Bryce Harper in right field yesterday with Alan Craig, and we understood the move at that point. But here in this inning, the Cardinals with 2 outs have picked up 3 consecutive hits. They have 4 in the inning, and they've got a very powerful bat coming up in David Freese. So don't run yourself out of an inning in that regard.
Yeah, it's very situational when you're talking about trying to eke out a run against Steven Strasburg as opposed to trying to pile on Colin McHugh. Those are 2 very different stories.
Runners at the corners. Freese called out on strikes first time up. He could just shoot one right to right field here. The second baseman Murphy is closer to the bag at second than you might think with a guy like David Freese.
I agree 100%. They're playing him extremely to pull almost on the infield. At least the second baseman and the shortstop are. Off the line a bit at third is David Wright, but the big hole on the right side.
.298 hitter with runners in scoring position. This is where he has been so good in his career. 2 outs and runners in scoring position.
That was hit number 999 in the career of Yadier Molina.
Taps it foul, strike 2. David Wright, David Freese, 2 of the best in the National League at third.
Very similar numbers, power numbers. RBI's close.
One-two pitch.
He's trying to hit the ball that way, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, and he's seen breaking balls in and then trying to slip that fastball away, but with David, his plate coverage, it plays right into his hands.
Sure does.
A natural power stroke to right. The 1-2 got in on him, and a forced play at second. The Cardinals, though, pick up 2. Alan Craig, part of 3 consecutive singles. 3-0 St. Louis. Visit Mo.com to start planning your next Missouri getaway. This is Bennett Springs State Park in Lebanon. Park contains the state's 3rd largest spring and also features trout fishing, lodging, camping, dining, fly fishing schools, a nature center. Find out more at visitmo.com. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, Jim Hayes with you. 3-0 St. Louis. As Joe Kelly finishes up his warm-up tosses. Watching him warm him up, it didn't seem like there was any issue going towards the plate. We shall see.
A couple of pitches a little stiff on the landing, and so I think the thing you always get a little concerned about is when you have some issue with your lower half, that starts to affect the way you actually deliver the baseball and leads to something else. And Cardinal fans very sensitive to that, going all the way back to Dizzy Dean. Took a ball line drive, I believe, off his toe, broke his toe, and then tried to pitch with that and ended up hurting his arm. So your lower half is so critical. You have to be foundationally solid to give your upper half a chance to work. No issues there.
Strike 2, David Wright. Mike Matheny doesn't even look like he's blinked in watching Joe Kelly. He is not taking his eyes off him one bit. Even just watching him run out to his position, Mike was watching that. Wright his first time up, Grounded into a fielder's choice. 1 ball, 1 strike. Davis on deck. We'll also see Duda. Ground ball to short. Descalso up with it. And he makes the play. Right is 0 for 2. Great news here, Rick. This is something that the Cardinals should be very proud of. And in particular, Skip Schumacher, as Ike Davis digs in. He's 0 for 1, grounded out to second. Sean Stutzman is the father of baby Risa. We've talked about their plight, and Risa has Krabbe disease. It's a terminal disease, and she will die by the age of 2, more than likely. And they are so open about what's happening with her and trying to get publicity towards that, so that there is screening for every kid that is born. This could have been avoided, but the screening can be pretty expensive. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Now 2-0, but there's the Brady Allen Cunningham Newborn Screening Act. And the grandmother of Brady Cunningham, who passed away from Krabbe disease in 2009, has been trying to get this passed in the state of Missouri. Fly ball, right center. Jay diving for it and comes up just a bit short. Into second goes Ike Davis with a double. Nice round of applause for John Jay. He almost comes up with another remarkable play.
Another outstanding effort. Just barely misses that one. We've seen so many good plays from John Jay in a matter of inches. That glove was just 2 inches longer.
So let's finish that thought. So Missouri did not have testing, but the grandmother and the family still fighting to get this passed the last 3 years to protect babies that are born with this. And it can be prevented again. And so because of what the Cardinals did and Skip Schumacher and all the notoriety around that, more attention was brought to it. Well, New York does have testing. They can send the testing to New York to get this done. So long story short, popped up. Freeze near the bag and puts it away. Every baby born in the state of Missouri now will be tested for Krabbe disease. And it's a direct result of the work of Skip Schumacher, the Stutzmans, and the Cardinals coming together, and the publicity, the notoriety going to this. And they are to be congratulated, commended.
You bet.
And it's huge news. So I know Skip was very emotional in hearing about that.
I bet he was. And he did a lot to get a lot of players, teammates, other athletes in St. Louis to back him. Had some events that added to that publicity. So still a sad story, but congratulations to Skip Schumacher for making a difference.
You bet. So here is Baxter with 2 outs and a runner at second base. Singled, stole a base in the second, then was left stranded. Outfield is shallow. Big gap in right center. Ground ball to the right side. Schumacher right on cue makes the play. And we talk nicely about the guy while he's due up first when we come back. you can run the bases after the game. And that's against the Brewers. All fans 48 inches and under will have a chance to get that free Six Flags ticket. Just saw the shot of Steve Turco. Just finished up his 4th season as the manager of the Gulf Coast League Club.
My first minor league shortstop.
There he is.
There's Turk. Very good, slick fielder and really a good leader of young men, too. He's really been around this Cardinal organization for a very, very long time, since I think 78. And he's been through all the ups and downs, and we should congratulate John Vooch on the minor league system. They're plus 15 now collectively. After kind of a slow start, they have really come on collectively to start competing at every level, and really credit John Vooch and his staff for developing some of the players we're getting to see at this level, and for finding guys that keep throwing 95 miles an hour. You got to love that.
Here's Schumacher to lead it off. Now, you'd love to win in the minor leagues and give those guys a taste of a pennant race of some sort. It is about developing players primarily, and number one, but if you can add in winning, that also helps.
I think you develop players by winning.
George Kissel would agree with you, too.
That's where I learned it from, and if George Kissel said it, I don't even have to be fully convinced it's true. If George Kissel said it, then it is true. The guru of developing baseball players. He would say, this is your big leagues every year. The Sally League, the Texas League, whatever league you were in, this is your big leagues.
1-1 pitch, taken low.
He'd say, if you guys win, we'll bring you all up. If you lose, we'll go find somebody else.
Bill Rowe, our friend down in Springfield, Missouri, longtime athletic director at Missouri State, said he just saw George's widow yesterday, and she still follows the Cardinals day in and day out. Schumacher with a high fly ball in a deep right field. At the wall, and it's gone. Skip Schumacher, his first home run this year. I don't want to put my partner on the spot, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because
go ahead.
As Skip was stepping in, he said, well, we said all those nice things about Skip. This was during the break, and deservedly so. He said, but I don't want to mention he doesn't have any home runs. You think I should mention that?
And he doesn't have any stolen bases either, but he would have had one earlier had Descalzo not struck out on a pitch. Would have had his first stolen base of the season. But he's getting the silent treatment. He's got no friends. He doesn't get the where's the receiving line? What's going on? They're holding this a long time. Holding it a long time. Holiday finally breaks the silent treatment. That was funny.
Descalzo. Yeah, usually they don't wait that long.
No, they played that out a long time.
Nothing in two, the count here on Descalzo. That's fouled back, and already activity in the bullpen for the New York Mets. Looks like Manny Acosta is getting loose. And it is. Right-hander. 6 Cardinal hits thus far. About hit the Mets 6-3, and Descalzo pulls it to first, and stepping on the bag, Ike Davis for the out. Our Nissan drive of the game off the bat of Skip Schumacher.
Middle in, he just turns on it. Skip clearly not a home run hitter, but everybody happy about that. And now where does the silent treatment start? Whose idea is it? Let me see. They're talking about it now, and they all decide to just sit there and just ignore him.
Kelly pops it up. Murphy is over foul territory and makes the catch.
Kind of had a sense that Wainwright might have had something to do with it.
I was just about to say, looking at that, seeing the replay of the guys, and knowing that Adam likes to maybe have a little fun with some of the fellas.
And the fact that they're good friends.
That adds to it.
Matt Holliday saying, "Now, Skip, you know you're not a home run hitter, right?"
Or maybe it's Skip telling Matt how to go deep. This is what you got to do. The hip turn, keep your weight back.
Yeah.
Here's John Jay. A swing and a miss for strike one.
Cardinals jumping on this starter. The Mets starters in the last 15 games an ERA of 2.48 collectively. So they've been good.
And their bullpen has been right there with them. Only one run they've allowed in the last 22 and a third. 1-1 pitch. Hugh has it. Over to Davis, and Skip Schumacher is added to the Cardinals' lead, his first home run of the season, and it comes on Labor Day. He's all smiles. Then he got the silent treatment. Header. First up, Rams and Lions. Then Fox will bring you America's Game of the Week. Coverage begins next weekend. The Built Ford Tough Fox NFL pregame show at 11. Check local listings for the games in your area. That had been 466 at-bats between Skip Schumacher home runs. Joe Kelly with a 4-run lead. He's allowed just 3 base hits. And Schumacher, who has reached on an air, now can add that home run to his 2012 resume. And so far, so good for Joe Kelly, as we've talked about. This far, he has looked sharp, and he gets the bottom of the order, 7, 8, and 9. Shopik will lead it off.
August 25th, the last date that a Cardinal pitcher went 6 innings. And Joe Kelly, who had a bit of a calf strain, we think, on a double that he hit in the left center, and there were some questions about whether he would continue. Seems to be just fine, working here in the 5th inning, and could really do wonders for this Cardinals bullpen if he could get through 6+. Cardinals bullpen, we've seen, Dan, has been better when they're ahead getting into the game and you just got your 7, 8, 9 guys in order. But when the team is behind and you have to go to the other pitchers to kind of try to keep it close, that's where the problems have arisen.
2-0 is tapped foul. Joe Kelly back in the rotation, replacing Lance Lynn. Disappointing outing yesterday for Lance after the Cardinals tied it up 2-2 late, and his ERA is now over 10 as a reliever. You see rookie starters ERA minimum 12 starts 3.75. Pretty good group. Kelly, Garcia, and Keel, and Matt Morris. Shopik pops it foul out of play. You have to wonder about the next appearance for Lance Lynn, and where would you like to see it? Is it going to be in a pressurized spot? Do you want to see him get work? Is it long relief? Is he running out of gas down the stretch? All those questions still to be answered.
I think Shelby Miller coming up here complicates my answer to that question, but I think long relief is maybe the best place for him right now. If you get into a situation where you need somebody to go 3 or 4 innings out of the pen in either a lopsided loss or a game where the starter for some reason has to go out early, I think the pressure late situations are not the best place for Lance Lynn right now. Really, his troubles as a starter, Dan, were coming in the first inning of work, and as a reliever, that may be your only inning.
Plenty of room for John Jay, and he makes the catch for the first out. Shopik twice now has flied out to Jay, and he's 0 for 2.
Just gets under this one a bit as it's a pitch in the middle of the plate and up. Shopik, who has some power, just got underneath that.
Andres Torres, a switch hitter. Mets traded away Angel Pagan to San Francisco, and they picked up Torres. Angel Pagan has destroyed the Cardinals last couple of years. That continued again this season. Hit sharply to short. Descalso played perfectly, and there's 2 away.
Maybe he has been working out with Pedro Alvarez. Talk about guys who destroy the Cardinals.
Well, Pedro's had an MVP season against the Cardinals.
Yeah, kind of glad we're done with him.
Me too. So that'll be it for the young right-hander of the Mets. A pinch hitter here. We'll see the bullpen in the bottom of the 5th. Fastball and a strike. Command seems to be a lot better today from Joe Kelly.
No doubt. Throwing strikes. Getting ahead.
There's a broken bat. 2 hops to short. Descalso. 1-2-3 inning for Joe Kelly. Carpenter, Holiday, and Craig coming up. And the Cardinals leading by the score of 4-0. And right now, McDonald's is offering $1 off discounts on McCafe products. All St. Louis McDonald's restaurants from 2 to 5 every day, and that's smoothies and iced drinks and shakes at McDonald's. It's our Chevy call to the pen and a right-hander coming out for Terry Collins.
Manny Acosta has not had a very good season numbers-wise. His ERA is at 8 in 32 appearances. And has had trouble with control. 22 walks on the season for Acosta. Their hot reliever right now is the big, tall right-hander John Rauch, who has been as unhittable as anybody. Last 27 games, ERA under 1, and guy that's normally noted for just being tall is now tall and good. So want to stay away from him. Their closer is Frank Francisco, has 23 saves. And they've got a couple of young left-handers in their bullpen who both throw very hard. They lost Tim Burdack due to injury, so they called up these two left-handers, Carson and Edgin.
Odd way to come set, and here's the 0-1 pitch to Carpenter. And that is a fair ball. Davis backhands. Acosta is there for the out. Carpenter with 2 RBIs today. The ground out and the fly out. His RBI total in limited play is up to 38. And Ike Davis, this is the 3rd time, Rick, that's happened in the game of a ball that's just staying fair near the bag.
Yeah, he's been tested, that's for sure. He made his 8th error of the season early on. Cardinals working that line. Matt Holliday had a nice at-bat his last trip. And he just missed a hanging curveball against the starter Colin McHugh. I know he'd love to see that pitch one more time.
1 out, nobody on, and Holliday. Good rip, 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Rick, you've been around the game a long time, and I know you've talked pitching with a lot of people, and it takes all kinds to play this game, and they come from everywhere, and they all have their different ways of coming set on the mound. This is unique right here.
This is a new one. Yeah, I'm not sure. Looks like he's thinking about some unique dance move or something, like he's getting ready to explode. I don't know what he's doing.
I thought the most uncomfortable player we've seen is Craig Counsell when he was at the plate.
Yes. Well, Pascual Perez used to come set, and he used to check the runner by looking between his legs. So that reminds me of Pascual Perez just a little bit.
Holliday rips it, and right, a backhanded play on the dive, and got him. Davis with the pick at first. Holliday doesn't like the call. And read his lips. He says, bad call. Both ends, a terrific play. Wright and Davis for the Mets.
Very close call at first base. The ball down the other line this time. David Wright, very good fielder. Low throw. He is withholding judgment. Still close. I'll go with Matt because I know him better. We do that sometimes, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
We see with our heart when it comes to our favorite sports teams, our favorite players.
I can't blame you. Now Alan Craig. Craig with a single back in the 3rd, and he's 1 for 2. A 1 pitch.
Pascual Perez, I mentioned him for fans of the, I guess he would have been the 80s, maybe the 70s some too, but he was not a bad pitcher. Actually pretty dynamite stuff for a couple of years, but he was known for kind of shooting the batter after he struck him out. He'd go pow, 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 and when he'd hold runners on, he would look between his legs. He's also known for running backwards and yelling, "Let me at him," during fights, which he often got in. And he was known to be running in the opposite direction of the fight, yelling, "Let me at him," which he got teased about quite a bit as well. I played with his brother Melito in Chicago, who is entirely different and totally opposite of his older brother Pascual. Calm, professional, subdued.
The characters of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
The characters of guys that sit in the bullpen all day long, too. Those are where you find probably the most unique of the characters, and in particular the ones that throw left-handed.
Yeah, the lefties are usually the oddest of the people in the bullpen.
2-1, and Alan Craig pops it up to the right side. Baxter in foul territory makes the catch. Costa, 1-2-3 inning. 4-0 St. Louis. Cardinals-Mets rivalry rank among the most heated in St. Louis in recent history. Carsoup.com. Email the booth question from Gene.
Well, everybody's going to have their thoughts about this. I would say from a personal standpoint, I would say the Mets one was certainly a heated rivalry, but I think what's going on more recently with the Cincinnati Reds is starting to trump that a bit. And it lasted 2 or 3 years in the mid-'80s with the Mets when both teams were in the Eastern Division and good teams. Now that's happening with Cincinnati and the Cardinals because you've got two very competitive teams that are 1-2 each year, or at least in the mix. And of course, all the stuff with Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa. I think maybe that trumps the Mets rivalry of the 80s, although I have a little more animosity towards the Mets. Jose Oquendo was a Met, actually 19-year-old shortstop with the Mets before being traded to St. Louis.
Dusty and Tony with the Cubs and Cardinals back in early 2000s.
Yeah, the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry to me has always been more of a fan fun thing than it's been a player on the field thing.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Again, another ground ball to Descalso. For those of you that don't remember.
Hi, I'm Ed Lynn, and I'm here with our new shortstop, Jose Oquendo, to tell you about Cap Weekend on June 11th and 12th when we play the Montreal Expos at Shea. Being from Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico, Jose obviously speaks Spanish. And being a college graduate myself, I'll help you fans with the translation. Jose?
Este tipo graduado de colegio, antes de cada juego hay que señalarle dónde está el bullpen, y aún así no lo encuentra. Yo hablo mejor el inglés que él.
Okay, Jose said...
Another chance for Descalso, 2 away. Where do we dig that up?
Is that all fans receive the cap, and it fits all sizes because of the adjustable strap. Here, let's see if it fits this guy's peanut head. Good.
Con la cabeza de melón que tú tienes, no puedes hablar de nadie. Y es por eso que me seleccionaron a mí para modelar esta gorra, y no a él.
Okay, he said don't forget the dates, Saturday night, June 11th, and Sunday afternoon, June 12th. A free cap for everyone when the Mets meet Montreal.
Bring your entire family to the Cap Weekend in the shit.
I told you guys you couldn't speak.
Now, how much trouble is he about to get from the guys down in the clubhouse watching right now?
Oh, I can't wait. I'm sure all the Oquendos watching right now are thinking, wow, how much fun was that to see Jose. Back in the day, I actually did a commercial with Jose once where he did it in English and I did it in Spanish. We did a voter registration commercial together, and if you guys can come up with that one in the truck, I'll be really impressed.
Curious where they dug that up. I've seen it before. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I know my line was registrase y vote. And then Jose said it in English. Maybe it never made air now that I think about it.
What else was said?
I don't remember.
A strike at the knees to David Wright, 1-2. Joe Kelly has settled in here. He's retired 7 straight after the double by Ike Davis in the 4th. Wright is 0 for 2. Now he is 0 for 3. Waves at that breaking ball. Strikeout number 3 for Joe Kelly. He is sharp this afternoon. Molina, Freese, Schumacher coming up. Cardinals on top. Back in St. Louis on Friday, it's a Busch Bash, and every Friday home game. Live music, player appearances, and that's Pags and Bernard Gilkey. For details, visit Cardinals.com/promotions to get a chance to pick up a ticket and pick up an autograph. Yadier Molina, David Freese, and Skip Schumacher for St. Louis. And a strike, Acosta, in his 2nd inning of work. Well, Rick, you can afford to pull the young right-hander if you're Terry Collins. Never should be an excuse in September to run out of pitching with expanded rosters.
And they're going to expand more tomorrow. The Mets, there's 3 or 4 players on the way. The Cardinals ultimately will send up a couple more as well. But right now the Mets have been pitching so well from a starting pitching standpoint that Terry Collins can really afford to just take it easy with his starter, who wasn't really sharp in this game. He gave up 6 hits in his 4 innings of work.
Fly ball into shallow right, and the catch is made by Baxter. Yadi is 1 for 3 with an RBI single. In steps David Freese. 4-0 St. Louis. So we play here in the home half of the 6th. It's Harvey and Garcia tomorrow on Fox Sports Midwest. We'll come your way with the pregame show at 6:30. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Jaime was not overly sharp in his last start, but that's on the road, and we've seen what he can do here at home. He's a different pitcher. Stats will tell you that too. Freese, fly ball, right center, and a running catch made by Andres Torres for out number 2.
Costa's done a nice job out of the Mets bullpen. Retires David Freese on a pitch up. And the pitcher we're going to see in game 2 of this series, Harvey, is actually one of their phenom pitchers. Not their number 1 guy, but a guy that they think can make a difference and be in their rotation a year from now. And he's a little bit ahead on the depth chart of the starter McHugh today.
I wonder how gun shy Mets fans are, and some in the organization that have been there a long time, about hearing about young pitching phenoms. Wilson, Pulsifer, Isringhausen. Remember that trio? Izzy still going strong, and he's pitching for the Los Angeles Angels. And Schumacher's on base for the third time. A home run, single, and an error. So a 2-out base hit. This Labor Day, we take a look at our AT&T trivia question. Entering today, how many qualifying players are hitting over 300 this year in all of Major League Baseball? 3 of them are Cardinals, 1 Met, 10 players overall. There's Daniel Descalso. And that is just National League guys that we're talking about in that trivia question. So 4 of the 10, the top 10 of the National League, playing in this ball game.
The gun-shy question that you brought up about being excited about your prospects, I think Cardinal fans went through that roller coaster a bit in the 90s. You know, there were some moments in the 90s where the Cardinals were not very good, and we started talking about how exciting Donovan Osborne was going to be, and Alan Watson, and they're going to be the next Bob Gibson, and probably not fair to either one of those guys. Real Cormier in the same boat of being a guy that's supposed to be a 20-game winner, and maybe overhyped a bit. Todd Zeile, I think, had a lot of pressure on him to be a great player as a young player.
2-0 is bounced to the right side. Murphy throws wide. It's an error. Runners advance to second and third. Never was able to get settled, and throwing across his body to an extent, trying to open up his hips to make that play. And it's an error on the Mets. The Mets have committed 2 errors today.
Yeah, he gets to the ball just fine. Ball hit to the right side. Murphy gets to it, but he just does not get the right turn, as you mentioned. He's not really squared up enough to be able to make this throw. And Schumacher adjusts and heads to third. And as we've said, this Mets defense is not very good this season.
2 outs and 2 on. A chance for Joe Kelly to help his cause. He doubled, scored a run in the third, and also popped out to second. Kelly on the first pitch. In the air. Davis sliding. Great effort. Don't hurt yourself down there. And you mentioned it earlier how Ike Davis is come back from a serious ankle injury. That was at the beginning of last season in early May. They were in Colorado, and he was off to just a tremendous start. And he collided with David Wright on an infield pop-up. And that was all we heard from Ike Davis.
A couple other names to think of when you think of the Cardinal droughts of the 90s and high expectations. How about Geronimo Pena and Luis Alicea?
I was thinking Pena for sure.
Both top round draft choices. And the tendency is to do that when the team's not winning, to overhype your minor leagues.
That's a catch by Daniel Murphy. Cardinals will strand 2. It's Davis, Duda, and Baxter coming up. brought to you by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, everything possible. And by Ford, the official vehicles of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. Joe Kelly and the Cardinals off to a good start in this homestand. Top of the 7th rolls in. Kelly has allowed just 3 base hits. Make a case, Rick, that this has been the most effective we've seen him all season.
Yeah, I agree. And came off probably his worst start, and that's maybe an overstatement, but it's really just worse by comparison, where he gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. Not a terrible start, but his command wasn't as good as we've seen it. But today he's really managed to handle the Mets. Not a lot of balls hit hard at all for the Mets. Not like he's escaping this game. He's dominating this game. Most quality starts as National League rookies. Wade Miley, a candidate for Rookie of the Year, has 16, but Joe Kelly on that list.
Ike Davis, the hitter. Davis 1 for 2 with a double. And that is strike 1. He's not pitching behind in counts. He hasn't gone all that deep into many counts. His pitch count is only at 70.
Joe Kelly has managed to do what the Cardinals had hoped Lance Lynn could do. Put him in the bullpen, give him a chance to maybe have a little change of scenery, and then he comes out and he just dominates in his 2 relief appearances. Then it spot opens up again. He put him back in the rotation, and he keeps rolling. I think the thought was that maybe that could happen with Lance Lynn. We haven't seen that yet. Still could happen. But I could see Joe Kelly somewhere down the road going back to the bullpen again. Hard to say that when he's out there throwing 6 shutout innings in a game that the Cardinals need to win when they come home, but kind of depends on where the need is.
Changeup taken in the dirt, 2-2. A lot of that up in the air with the addition tomorrow of Shelby Miller, and also on top of that, what we think at some point will be the addition of Chris Carpenter. The 2-2 pitch.
Well, you have another candidate to be a starting pitcher in Trevor Rosenthal. And in my mind, Trevor Rosenthal is still ahead of Shelby Miller. He's done better this year than Shelby Miller has done, and he's also shown some good signs here at the big league level, and Trevor Rosenthal has pitched well in the last couple of weeks. So I'm not sure he doesn't deserve a shot at more innings.
Rosenthal has been impressive in his last 2 outings out of the bullpen on this most recent road trip. He is throwing hard out there. A 3-2 pitch. Got him. Strikeout on 93-mile-an-hour pitch from Joe Kelly. That's his 4th K of the afternoon. This Saturday, it's another full day of college football action, beginning with Tulane taking on Tulsa right here on FSN, or Miami battles number 22 K-State in the Little Apple. Rice takes on Kansas, and 12th ranked Wisconsin heads to Oregon State. That's on FX. Our coverage of college football continues Saturday on FSN and FX. First pitch is popped up. Left field near the line. Holiday makes the catch, 2 away. Duda is 0 for 3.
He has some pop, and he jumps on that pitch right down the middle. That's a pretty good pitch to hit in terms of location. Joe Kelly's shown some good movement on his fastball today. The 3-2 strikeout pitch to Davis had good sink down and away, and he kind of has a riding fastball and a sinking fastball. That, again, back to Lance Lynn. That's what we saw from Lynn in the early going. A variety of fastballs where he could get outs, and that seemed to have kind of left him, at least for the time being.
You know, going back to the pop out, the bat of Duda, it makes you think that, I guess, Rick, there's just that slight late movement, because as you mentioned, that was down the middle and seemed to be quite hittable.
Well, it's location and movement. Both of those things matter. You can debate by what percentage. Velocity matters too. All 3 of them do. You like to have all 3. Location probably the most important. Movement maybe a little ahead of velocity, and not just movement, Dan, but late movement. What does it do the 3 feet before home plate? That's what Bruce Sutter used to say about pitching, and that's why his split finger was so good, because it would move right when the batter was starting to make his move to the ball, and that late movement would throw off timing.
3 balls and 1 strike on Baxter, who's 1 for 2. And he walked him. Just the second walk issued by Joe Kelly. Cardinals, though, really needed a start like this to have a guy go deep into a game, and currently 6 2/3 out of Joe Kelly. The way that Mike Matheny played it yesterday, which almost worked to perfection, was to get Westbrook out. I'm sure if it was a different circumstance earlier in the season, you would have seen him pitch through that inning with 2 runners on. Instead, he went to Mojica, and then it was the rest of the bullpen. Lance Lynn gave it up, but Cardinals, Wainwright did not have a long start. His most recent outing, which was on Friday, Loesch didn't go deep in his game, gutted through his start. So it's been a lot of activity for the bullpen.
The way I saw that last game with Mike Matheny is he either had to use Mojica to get out of a potential rally that could have put the game away from the Nationals' point of view. It was a high leverage situation, or hope Westbrook could get through it and use Mojica in the next inning.
This is well hit. Out to left, and Holiday will watch it go. It's a 2-run homer. Kelly Shopik is 8th of the season. The Mets right back in this game. It's now 4-2. The walk and now a home run.
Yeah, Kelly had a 2-out walk in the 3rd inning, but he was able to pick the runner off. Here's an off-speed pitch that just hangs top of the strike zone, and Shopik, who has that good power, gets all of it.
They'll start to get loose in the Cardinals bullpen. Andres Torres takes a pitch high. Turner is on deck. Phillies a final over Cincinnati 4-2. They're in the bottom of the 8th. The Astros leading Pittsburgh 5-1.
Johnny Cueto, the loser in that Reds game, drops to 17-7.
Top of 9, Miami leading Milwaukee. They've been red hot 7-3. Very important game over in the American League. Tampa Bay, top of the 9th, leading the Yankees 4-3, and Baltimore has already posted a win 4-0. That's outside. Torres is grounded out to short and also grounded to first. 2 balls and 1 strike. Baltimore, if the Yankees would lose that game, they would be 1 game out for the lead in the East. This is well hit right center. That's trouble. Torres can run. He's on his way to second base. He's thinking 3. No throw by Descalso. It's a triple, and the tying run will come to the plate all of a sudden here in the 7th inning. Will that be it for Joe Kelly?
Pitch out over the plate. An inning that started very innocently. A strikeout, a fly out, and then a 2-out walk to Baxter. Home run and a triple, and that's going to be it for Joe Kelly.
By the way, with that win, Baltimore is 16 games over 500 for the first time since 1997. Joe Kelly will get a nice round of applause as we head to a timeout. Our Chevy call to the pin. And Rick, this happened in a hurry. Now it's Edward Mujica in a dangerous spot.
Yeah, and he got ready in a hurry. 57 game of the season for him, and 16th as a Cardinal, and really been perfect in St. Louis. Joe Kelly's afternoon, turned in a hurry, but has to be pleased with what he was able to do. 6 2/3 innings. He threw 94 pitches. And he's given up 2 runs and is responsible for Torres, the runner, at third. But really a nice performance by Joe Kelly.
Justin Turner will be the pinch hitter. He does have 1 home run this year to go along with 17 RBIs and a .281 average. Fastball and a strike. Washington wins again today. 82nd win of the season for them. That's a team record since moving to D.C. after the 2004 season. Detweiler picked up the win.
You mentioned the Orioles haven't had that many games over 500 since 1997. Guess who was managing the Orioles in 1997? Davey Johnson.
Yeah.
Manager of the year in the American League that year. Key moment here. Justin Turner is their #1 pinch hitter. He has 11 pinch hits. Scrappy player. Mujica has been very, very good for St. Louis.
The 2-1 pitch. A chopper towards short. Descalso makes the play. Mujica strands a runner at third. Mets get on the board. It's now 4-2 and time to stretch. for games throughout this season. Tickets won't last long, and you can catch the Cardinals as they battle their division rival Brewers this weekend. Tickets as low as $9. So $10 tickets tomorrow night and Wednesday afternoon. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Milwaukee in town, and $9 seats are available. Remember, Saturday is a night game, so Cardinals are trying to pack the house for the pennant run, and hope you'll be here with us. Robert Carson is into the ball game. This will be his 11th appearance. A couple of walks, 2 strikeouts to go along with his ERA that's near 4.
They like their young, hard-throwing left-handers out of the bullpen. Carson was a starting pitcher throughout his minor league career, really less than a 500 pitcher. But if you're left-handed, you throw hard, there are always relief jobs down the road, and they're trying him as a reliever, and they like his live arm. That pitch at 93.
I thought you brought up a really interesting point. Now that the focus is so much on the stretch drive and teams that are trying to get into the playoffs, where some believe that emphasis is not on trying to win the division, but just trying to get in the playoffs. And the thing, though, that you counter that with is that right now, the American League East is a great example. I mean, what a stretch run this could be with the Yankees, the Orioles, and Tampa Bay. The one division that you would have to say the team is in control, undoubtedly, is right here in the Central, with Cincinnati up by 9.5 in front of St. Louis. Washington, the start of play, 6.5 in front of Atlanta. But the Dodgers are only 4.5 back in the West. And then we've talked about the East in the American League. The Central of the American League is tied with Chicago and Detroit, and Oakland is only 3 back of Texas in the West.
It does give more teams opportunities. There's no question about that. I think what my point is you get to September 1st, or you get to the trading deadline. Let's use that as an example. And you're 5 or 6 games out in first place. Your question may not be, what do I need to do to win this division? It's, what do I need to do to get the second wild card? And you may do less. You may take less risks, and maybe that's good for the game. I don't know. But the point is, you don't have to push quite so hard at that point and say you've got to chase that leader in your division. So it changes the way you play.
Jay, a little floater that is just foul. John Jay with a triple back in the first inning, and then came around to score on a ground out by Carpenter.
Let me amend that statement. I don't think it changes the way you play. I think it changes the way you may manage your ball club, and you may, in terms of
or the
calling
personnel
guys up,
moves,
and personnel moves, etc.
Trades. No, I agree with you, Rick, and it does, though, from a general perspective, make it very interesting to see more teams that have a shot to get in.
No question. It's going to be fun. Last year was as fun as I have ever seen the game of baseball the last 3 days of the season, and it would be great if that happened again. And even better if October ends up exactly like it did a year ago. It could happen.
1 ball and 2 strikes on John Jay. Here's a 2-2. It's hit out of play. Tom Mee is our director today. Mike Helling, our producer. Brian McCann. Danny Martinez. Keith O'Brien. His cousin Keith Oberman helping out tonight. So we've got the whole family here on this Labor Day. The 2-2 pitch. Jay shoots it down the left field line, but foul.
That home run has changed the feel of this game a bit. Shopik, 2-run shot with 2 outs off of Joe Kelly instead of a game that the Cardinals had well in hand. It's now gotten a bit tighter, and the Cardinals are going to have to get 2 more good innings of relief from their bullpen. You'd expect to see Boggs and Mott in innings 8 and 9.
Have we seen a different John Jay from the leadoff spot in his approach to at-bats? This will be the 11th pitch coming up.
Well, we've seen a lot of those at-bats where he's gone deeper into counts. You bet. A lot of 3-2 counts, a lot of foul balls on tough pitches, and that's what you want your leadoff hitter to do.
And now he's hit by the pitch. Tremendous at-bat again by John Jay.
And he's really trying to lead the league in hit by pitch, isn't he?
Had it yesterday. I think that's number 12, if not number 13.
That one hits off his right hamstring or thereabouts.
I'll go with the latter. Here is Carpenter.
That's number 12. He's now just 4 off the league leader.
Schnook's a difference maker. Matt Carpenter at the plate. Hit by pitches. I think Ron Hunt, who was the record holder, former Met, who was living in the St. Louis area.
Don Baylor was pretty good at it.
Then Don Baylor. Carpenter takes a strike. The luxury of Carpenter is not only the fact that he can play around the infield and the corner positions in the outfield, but he's developed into a very good pinch hitter. Numbers will show that. But also, Rick, late innings, and if Terry Collins decides to go to a lefty like he has here, Mike Matheny and the Cardinal staff, they feel fine keeping Carpenter in these type of specialized situations, lefty-lefty matchups.
Yeah, he has good at bats. He's very well coached and well taught. He's a good student as well. I mean, not the fact that he played for his dad, and he got good teaching there, and got good teaching in the Cardinal minor leagues, and is listening to John Mabry and Mark McGuire this year. But you know, what you really hope for with Matt Carpenter is he continues to progress with the glove at all those positions you mentioned, and goes from being adequate at those positions to being better than average. I don't know that he's going to be a Gold Glover ever, but you know, he will increase his value with time spent fielding ground balls and taking fly balls more so than with the bat, because that's going to come natural to him.
You were telling me yesterday he truly is a baseball rat. You have the gym rat.
Yep.
Gets there early all the time. As Carpenter puts it in play, hit down the left field line and foul.
I guess baseball, it's a park rat. What do we call it? Stadium rat?
Yeah, I mean, and he's the kind of guy that gets here very, very early to Busch Stadium or wherever we may be.
He's usually number 1. And there are players that will get to the park so early. I mean, it's unfathomable to players who played 20, 30, 40 years ago, because they'll be there maybe 8 hours before the game or 6 hours before the game. And so 6 hours before the game and 3 hours for the game and an hour afterwards, that's a long day at the park every day. And that's a lot of baseball, and not a lot happens in those hours either. Consider you get 4 at-bats and 2 balls hit to you.
Carpenter strikes out. Yeah, some people believe it's counterproductive.
It can be.
Here is Holiday with 1 out. Terry Collins. Holiday coming up will go to Bobby Parnell, who's a hard-throwing right-hander to come in for the Mets. Parnell and Holiday when we come back. 2. One out here in the Cardinals half of the 7th. It's hard not to like the stuff of Bobby Parnell. Hard throwing right-hander. 15 walks, the 52 strikeouts in just about 55 innings of work. But as we've talked about, Rick, you think about the final 3 outs as opposed to what he may do right here, and the difference between the two and how certain players thrive in situations that dictate wins or losses, which is the back of the games.
Well, he's going to have to try to thrive in a situation where he's facing one of the most dangerous hitters in the National League right now, and no matter what the inning, it's a tough situation for Bobby Parnell, but he does have the stuff to do it. You mentioned his good hard fastball. There are times where they thought he would eventually be the closer for the Mets.
Remember, New York had just a terrible bullpen a year ago, to the point that Isringhausen picked up his 300th save. One out, runner at first. Did that while wearing a Mets uniform last year. Just the psyche of a closer or a late innings pitcher, and the confidence that you have to have so many respects.
Well, you can't make a mistake in the 9th. You have to be careful about making mistakes in the 7th, too, because your team has gotten back into this game, and his job is to keep it close. So that has to be your 9th. I mean, that's the way you think about it as a 7th inning pitcher. Now, it is different, and there certainly is more attention on the 9th inning. But from a point of view of a reliever, you have to make every batter, every inning, the bottom of the 9th, in your own mind at least.
Got away with that pitch.
If you're not able to do that, the 9th inning doesn't really matter.
Late June, he picked up his first save of the season. Has a splitter, but doesn't use it all that much. Hard fastball. Oof. Just a rocket into center field. Ball just jumping off the bat of Matt Holliday. He reaches on a 1-2 pitch, and both Cincinnati and Pittsburgh have lost. So the Cardinals, as we speak, 9 games back. Atlanta, that's the one that you really focus on at this point. Atlanta is leading. Now they have won. They beat Colorado 6-1.
Yeah, Pittsburgh really starting to fade in the Central Division. I think there's still a thought in a lot of people's mind. You'd still like to see him finish 500 for the first time in 20 years, but not much better than that.
Alan Craig with a single back in the 3rd. Fly to right and also popped out to second. Runners at first and second for Craig.
Isn't it amazing, Dan? You know, we're coming off a road trip that was disappointing, and then in a few hours later, which is really all it is, both the Pirates and the Reds lose. The Cardinals come out and break out on top against the Mets, and you think, oh, okay, now everything's good. The roller coaster of a 162 game season can almost be too tough to handle sometimes. Got to learn how to handle the emotions of that. Certainly the players do.
0-1 pitch. Craig, base hit into right. They'll wave in John Jay. The throw will go into 3rd. Not in time. Holliday aggressive on a hard hit ball to right. Advancing to 3rd. Jay scores. And the numbers continue to rise for Alan Craig. Prior to that at bat, hitting .398 with runners in scoring position.
And he comes through again, and you also have to credit Matt Holliday from going from 1st to 3rd. This ball hard hit 96 the other way, and the throw does come into 3rd base, but Matt Holliday very aggressive, gives the Cardinals a chance to have another runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. He picks up Jose Oquendo and works very hard and slides hard. I like the way Matt Holliday runs the bases.
You don't see that very often, do you? Guy advanced like that on a hard hit ball. Also picking up his coach. Middle infield staying back for the potential double play. Chance for Yachty to advance this lead. Ground ball slowly hit to second. Out there, it's a double play for 6-3. Cardinals pick up a run. We played 7. St. Louis on top here at Busch, 5-2. Let's head to our studio across the way here at the ballpark. Bommarito Sports Update. Jim Hayes standing by. All right, Jim, thanks. We'll see you on the postgame show. Alan Craig against Bobby Parnell with a base hit into right. Run scores to make it a 5-2 lead for St. Louis. Mitchell Boggs has had a tremendous season.
And he's been used a lot, Dan. Game number 65 for Mitchell. Only 17 walks in 61 innings. And you think about the Mitchell Boggs of the last couple of years that we saw, that ratio right there is the difference as to why Mitchell Boggs has been so effective. His command has really increased, and the manager, Mike Matheny, backed him, pushed him, believed in him, encouraged him, every positive word you can think, and it's really worked with Mitch.
Go back, what a difference a year can make. Early on last season, he was closing games. Ineffectiveness of Ryan Franklin, and eventually it was Salas, and Mitchell Boggs had a chance to do that. And then he went out of favor in that regard to the point that the Cardinals sent him to the minor leagues and he was put in the starting rotation. And now this season, Rick, with maybe a new lease on life, his professional career, Derek Lilliquist had him in the minor leagues, has got a lot of faith in him. Mike Matheny has shown faith in him, and he has turned out to be a tremendous setup man this year. 2 balls and 1 strike on Tejada.
Never a question about his stuff, movement, velocity. Never a question about that. It's plus. It's all about command for him.
2-2.
Saw Ryan Franklin at the ballpark here this afternoon. He was visiting with Kyle McClellan, another injured Cardinal that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, and look forward to his return to the big leagues eventually. Talk a lot about Chris Carpenter. It's a little more imminent, and the possibility exists for Carp to be throwing here in a couple of weeks.
The 2-2. Ryan Franklin is working as consultant, so to speak, with John Mozeliak and the front office. He's on hand for the Cardinals during the Major League Baseball draft and announcing picks. Ground ball, base hit. Leadoff man is on. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. This is Daniel Murphy, and Boggs falls behind here. 96 on the gun.
An oddity for Daniel Murphy. He is hitting .342 during the day this year. Base hit 2 trips here this afternoon, and he has got the best batting average during the day of any player in the National League. Yet he's only hitting .285.
How about Joe Kelly in the day? ERA 2.30. At night, it's around 5. One of the oddities. Looking at the stats, Joe Kelly 6 2/3 today, 5 hits, 2 runs. They were earned, 2 walks, and he strikes out 4. The longest outing of his major league career in those 94 pitches. Big effort from him. There's a fastball and a strike, 2-1. It's a day that the Cardinals really needed him to step up, and he did.
Kind of funny in this game, he pays so much attention to lefty-righty splits and how he does against one team or another. Well, how about how they do during the day and the night as to who you might use?
Sam Freeman getting loose in the pen, and here's a high fly ball out to deep right. And this is gone. Craig runs out of room against the wall. It's a home run by Daniel Murphy, just his 5th this year. And just like that, it's 5-4 New York.
Murphy again showing that he likes to hit during the day. Let's check the pitch location. It's down, but it's down and in. Left-handers like the pitch there. Alan Craig just barely running out of room.
Out to visit with Boggs. He's in relief, but Mojica was not allowed to run in 16 appearances for the Cardinals. He's also not allowed an inherited runner to score, such a key stat when you talk about a reliever. So Mojica has been tremendous. And now you get David Wright tying run at the plate against Mitchell Boggs, and nobody out.
Kelly Shoppach tightened this game up in the 7th, and now Daniel Murphy makes it even tighter in the 8th. And you look back on that 4-6-3 double play that Yadier Molina hit into, and that looks a little bigger right now. Cardinals had an opportunity to score some more in the bottom of the 7th. A little too close for comfort right now with David Wright at the plate. I feel better.
Key out right here. Craig over to make the catch. Rick, we were talking about teams that have made this race fun and interesting. Amazingly, Oakland in their last 81 games, a record of 54-27. 54-27 for the Oakland A's. Only 3 back of Texas. They have 76 wins on the year as Davis gets set to step in.
Oakland, Baltimore, Washington, Pittsburgh, all in playoff conversation in the month of September. I think that's good for baseball.
Most home runs on the road. Davis with 18 of his 25 away from Citi Field. Matt Holliday had his 50th multi-hit game of the season today. sinking action on that pitch for strike 2.
You mentioned, Dan, that of the last 28 games that the Cardinals are going to play this year, 18 of them will be against sub-500 teams. A lot of games against the Astros, the Cardinals playing the Mets, the Brewers, the Padres, all hot teams right now. But the 10 games that they'll play against 500 or better teams will be the Dodgers, Washington, and Cincinnati, and they'll all be important games.
You know, you're wondering about that winning season for the Pirates. Another loss today. They will need 11 wins in their final 28 games to finish over 500. In their past 28, they're 10-18.
They might be limping home, huh?
They've done it before, and for Clint Hurdle's sake, you hope that doesn't happen again.
Sam Freeman and Jason Mott both getting loose. 4 left-handers in this lineup for the Mets. 5 counting the switch hitter Andres Torres.
2-2.
And I think significant that Sam Freeman is getting loose now instead of Mark Zepchinski.
Very, very interesting. Kind of situation too, Rick, where you felt that Boggs just didn't quite have it. You'd also have that lefty come in to face Davis, Duda. Baxter's a lefty after that. 3-2 pitch.
Yachty couldn't quite that foul tip, off-speed pitch from Mitchell Boggs, and it was a good one. Dangerous pitch here. Davis strikes out a lot, 117 times, but he also has the power you mentioned, especially on the road.
3-2 pitch, and he walked him. So the tying run is at first base. The go-ahead run will come to the plate, and Mike Matheny will make the change. 5-4 with the Cardinals clinging to this 1-run lead.
By Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By Taco Bell. Live Moss. And by the State of Missouri Tobacco Quit Line. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Nice crowd on hand here on Labor Day at Busch Stadium. Cardinals laboring here in the 8th inning, and it'll be up to Sam Freeman to shut the door. The Mets have picked up 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, and trail just by the 1 run. And Sam Freeman will have a couple of left-handers to deal with. And he'll try to save this inning and this game for Joe Kelly.
So Jason Bay has had a rough go of it with the Mets. Injuries, inconsistent play, 55 games, and just a 160 average. Facing Freeman here and a chance to put the Mets on top with one swing of the bat.
We talked about this in Washington, Dan. When you have the expanded rosters, the lefty-righty thing doesn't always work out the way you want it to because the rosters are bigger. You can afford to pinch hit more.
I wonder what's going through the mind right now of Mark Zebchinski.
This should be his situation. It has been his situation, but it appears to no longer be his situation.
The 1-1. Bay rips it out to left. And with one out, two have reached. Base hit for Bay. This will be Scott Hairston. And Mike Matheny will make a double switch. So Freeman came in, faced Bay, gives up the base hit. And he is not messing around. He's going with Jason Mott. They'll ask Mott to get the final 5 outs. And we step aside again. Mott coming in when we come back. Skip Schumacher, after his first home run of the season, got the silent treatment. At that time, felt pretty comfortable. All smiles here at the ballpark, but things have changed. It's now 5-4 St. Louis. And Jason Mott, Cardinals closer, brought in now to face Scott Hairston. Shane Robinson, part of a double switch. Craig out of the game. Then step foul.
We've seen a few games where Jason Mott has been brought in to get out 4 opposing hitters, but he's asked to get out 5 in this game here this afternoon. Mike Matheny doing a double switch, bringing in Shane Robinson. He'll play right field. He'll bat in the 9th spot. And so Alan Craig is out of this game. And what you hope for there is that
No
Alan
extra
Craig,
innings, and that spot doesn't come up.
exactly.
You could have moved him to first base if you wished.
The problem is you want to double switch with whoever made the last out, if possible. And you don't want to do that with Molina, so you start working back up the order. And if you go too far up the order, it doesn't make sense to double switch at all.
Exactly.
So to use your closer, who you know you're going to pitch not only this inning but next inning, you've got to double switch with somebody. So it makes sense to me, but it's also rolling the dice.
1-2 the count. And a liner that's caught and safe at second. Nearly a double play. Oh, is that close?
Mike Matheny's going to talk about it a little bit with Dan Iasanya. And he believes that he misses this call. We'll take another look at it. First off the bat, looked like it might be a hit, but it was a sinking line drive.
Oh.
And very, very close play. I'd have to see that one again, too. We had another very close play involving Matt Holliday earlier in this game, but that really could not have been closer. One more time. Here's the flip, the foot. He looks safe to me.
Yep. Good call. Here's Shopik, who got it all started for the Mets. The 2-run homer got them on the board. That was in the 7th. A 2-run homer in this inning to make it 5-4.
That's some high heat right there. 98 miles an hour above the strike zone. Not many folks can catch up to that.
Nothing into the count. Time is called.
September 22nd, a year ago, the Cardinals were handed a loss by the Mets, which was probably one of the worst losses of the season. Mets had a 6-run 9th inning. A crushing defeat, but the Cardinals overcame it. Last time he went 5 outs for a save. September 3rd. Must be something about the date. A year ago against the Reds. Think your closer's not important to your team? Most important guy you've got right now.
The 1-2, got him. Strikeout for Mott. the Cardinals will score 6. They're at 5 right now. Any size drink, just 50 cents all day tomorrow at your nearest on-the-run mobile. This year, 6 is a serious number. Cardinals about hit the Mets 9-8. And they lead the game 5-4. Parnell is still in. Hairston is in right field. Jason Bay in his familiar spot of left field.
And a little insurance would be nice for Jason Mott. What a job he did in the top of the 8th. A couple runners aboard. He got Hairston, the pinch hitter, and then a strikeout of Shopik to close out that inning. And wow, very, very nice job by Jason Mott. But more work to do. He'll have 8, 9, and 1.
Off-speed pitch to David Freese for ball 1.
May see Josh Tolley in the top of the 9th. Pitcher spot is up second. They'll have 8, 9, and 1.
Taken for a ball, 2-0 the count. Chris Medlin has allowed 4 earned runs in his last 66 innings. For the Atlanta Braves, they continue to win when he starts. Next best, Felix Hernandez. You wouldn't think that of all the pitchers that you think about that have just been unbelievable here down the stretch. Felix Hernandez is number 1 on the list for most people.
No doubt.
But it's Chris Medlin. On the air tomorrow for Game 2 at 6:30 here on Fox Sports Midwest. Atlanta, by the way, a 6-1 winner. The 3-1 now make it 3-2. Pitch at 97 from Bobby Parnell.
A lot of hard throwing fastball pitchers here today. Jason Mott got one up to 99.
You have Andres Torres, Parnell's spot, then Tejada coming up for the Mets. That's taken low. It's a leadoff walk. Schumacher will be the hitter.
We got another left-hander in their bullpen, Josh Edgin. And my guess is we're going to see him in about 3 or 4 minutes.
So Parnell is through. Schumacher coming up. 5-4 St. Louis. quite the story when you think about where he's come from. 30th round pick in 2010. He signed for a bonus of $1,733. And he was the 902nd pick 2010. And here he is in the big leagues. Skip Schumacher has gone deep. Earlier today, he has a base hit, a single, a home run, and reached on an air. Raised on a dairy farm. But 900 people in Pennsylvania. Edgin said probably 860 of those residents have now purchased MLB.TV. Proud of the lefty. Bunt is down for Schumacher. Thought about going to second. They may have had a play, too.
Maybe. Well, David Wright understands that you might as well take a long look at least. Whether or not you think you can get him or not, you know you can get the runner at first, so at least look to second. I don't like it when they just kind of give up any hope. He at least looks. Now, does he have enough time to get that throw to second base to beat David Freese? I'd say 50-50. But at least he thought about it, had plenty of time to get that runner at first base.
Caitlin Baum is in the hospital at Barnes and resting comfortably and watching Cardinals baseball today. We wish her a speedy recovery. Runner at second. Here's Daniel Descalso. Even though you realize that Schumacher is in a spot to bunt, go with the lefty. And then you have the lefty after that in Descalso. He could have kept Parnell in just to face Schumacher. Bunting situation.
Well, I think sometimes you got, the lefty on lefty might make it harder to bunt, number one. But normally the left-hander has the edge, not always, at holding the runner at first base too and keeping him tighter. So both of those thoughts probably went into consideration there. Descalso has hit lefties pretty well.
2 balls and 1 strike. This lefty is sped through the system fairly quickly and caught the eye of Terry Collins in spring training. Pitching in some major league games and pitched very well. And as he says, a 30th round pick. I've got nothing to lose. Might as well have a little fun and try to stick around.
If you're left-handed, you throw strikes, you get out lefties, you'll stick around.
Tim Burdack, as Rick mentioned earlier, not with them. 2 months ago, he was dealing with a sore shoulder, and that complicated the rest of his season.
There's that good fastball we were talking about at 95.
What have you thought of the slider? That's the one aspect of his game they said has been pretty good. What have you seen?
Well, I think the thing I'm most concerned about is how can he be 32 years of age and only have 2 years in the minor leagues? I'm working on that, according to his bio. Talk about a late bloomer. There's a good fastball. And yeah, fastball, slider. Really, you need to be a 2-pitch pitcher out of the bullpen. A or B. You often don't have a chance to get to C or D anyway. Starting pitchers do. And the real confident guys with the slider will throw it 3-2 to a lefty.
3-2 pitch. Got him. 2 outs with a runner at second. 1-run lead for St. Louis. Shane Robinson will be the hitter.
And this appears to be more of a conversation about, let me tell you about Shane Robinson, than it is taking him out of the ball game. There's no action in the Mets bullpen, and you want to make sure he understands that Robinson likes to swing at the first pitch. Really more of a fastball hitter. And I don't think they're having a conversation about first base being open with a left-hander Jay up next. I assume they're going to take their chances with Shane Robinson. I think this is where you might overthink the lefty-righty thing a little bit too much.
David Freese, a runner at second base. Shane Robinson at the plate. Cardinals could sure use some insurance here. The strike. First plate appearance for Robinson. He was part of the double switch. Double switch that put the pitcher's spot, or a pitcher in a cleanup spot, as part of the double switch, which a lot of times you won't see that happen. And in this case, it's Alan Craig who's out of the game. Robinson with a liner out to right. Catch is made. The threat is through. Cardinals have stranded 7 as we head to the 9th. Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, our post-game show following the action here at Busch Stadium. Mott trying to pick up a 5-out save at the final 2 outs in the 8th inning, and now looking ahead to the 9th. Andres Torres is 1 for 3 with a triple against Mott. You have the pitcher's spot, and then Ruben Tejada, who is 1 for 4. Nikias, Cedeno, Tolley, all available right now on that bench.
Been a lot of talk all season long about the Cardinals not playing well in 1-run games. Record of 15-22. And one way to fix that is don't lose any more 1-run games in the month of September and get that back to even again.
Cedeno is on deck. 1 ball, 1 strike.
that 15-22 record. Would expect no issues whatsoever with Jason Mott being able to pitch an inning in 2/3.
Popped up left side, out of play.
He has really proven to be durable, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
You don't see him like most relievers go out there and have bad stuff for a couple of weeks and then all of a sudden get it and then come back. And, you know, he may get hit and he throw a hanging pitch every once in a while, but the point is his stuff never seems to diminish.
The 2-2. That cutter has gotten a lot better this year.
Sure has.
Mix that in with the fact that he's throwing upper 90s, and he is awfully effective in that regard. In on the hands of a lefty with that cutter. I mean, think about that, Rick. You've got 98 miles an hour that you're gearing up for, and then he, as a lefty, get that cutter in on your hands, and that's coming in about 92.
Right in on your thumbs.
Good at bat here.
Sure is. Torres had a good at bat in the 7th inning. He followed Shopek's home run with a triple. He's 1 for 3. And getting that first out in the 9th is a big out for closing.
The 2-2. Check swing. Did not go. The count runs full. Torres is the kind of guy you want to keep off the bases too.
You bet.
Good speed.
You could see he was thinking fastball, then he saw it was a cutter, and he tried as hard as he could not to swing at that pitch.
3-2, and that's a base hit. Past Carpenter, out into right. Robinson will fire into second base, and safe. Torres, and they'll check on him. It may have been a hard tag by Descalso. He was thinking 2 all the way.
Credit Torres for hustling. Also a good job by Shane Robinson, the right fielder, to get the throw off quickly and on time. Close play there, and somehow he hit his head, almost falling down as Robinson, but still manages to get a good throw on the bag, and there he goes right into the knee of Daniel Descalso on his slide. Looks like the helmet actually comes back and maybe pressured his face a bit, but he's okay and he'll be able to run. So now more work for Jason Mott here in the 9th.
Ronnie Cedeno, former Pirate and Mariner,
who has always hit the Cardinals well.
Try to keep the runners somewhat close at second base. Looks like they will appeal possibly here at first base to see if he missed the bag.
They're going to say he missed first. And they're
right. They got it. Unbelievable. Torres apparently missed first base. And here comes Terry Collins after the call of the day. Wow. Now that is hard to imagine.
A big mistake by Torres. Collins doesn't like the call. Dave Rackley is listening, and we'll watch it. So close. But he's right on it. Rackley comes right on it, and you wonder who says something about it from the Cardinals bench.
With those 2 replays, Rick, I still can't tell.
I still can't either. Whether he touched the front of that base or not. But you're wondering whether somebody on the bench, they're crediting and patting Carlos Beltran on the back. I wonder if he saw it. Always something to do, even if you're on the bench.
Cardinals have a video room that, what would you say, Rick, about 40 feet away from the dugout?
Right.
And they're watching everything. Other games, this game. And, you know, clearly they're getting word at some point about that. Seeing a replay, you would have to think. Maybe watching the first base umpire and watching how he was looking at Torres. I mean, he's right on the call. Swing and a miss. And there's 2 down.
What a dramatic turn here in the ninth.
You think about calls that change the complexion of a game. You know, the Cardinals are in a pennant race here in September, and that's how they get the first out of the ninth? You've got to be kidding me. And more times than not, it's got to be a blatant miss of the bag to call that.
No doubt. So close, but it goes the Cardinals' way, and the fans have been energized here on this Labor Day.
I still can't believe they called him out. 2 outs, nobody on, and here's Ruben Tejada. Rarely, if ever, do you see that called, and much less a 1-run game in the ninth in a pennant chase for the Cardinals.
If he missed that base, he did not miss it by more than an inch.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. It's got to be a blatant miss a lot of times for that to be called. 1 ball, 1 strike, and you're exactly right. Stadium is charged up. Just a different feel now to this ninth inning, and the complexion of this game is turned. The 1-1 to Tejada, taken for a ball. It's such an important game for the St. Louis Cardinals. Pirates have lost. Cincinnati has lost. Cardinals lead in the wild card by a half game. You have to think that they were watching the first base umpire and then going back as they looked at Torres and a chance to look at video, Rick, at that play. Again, the first base umpire, to his credit, was right on it. We saw that. 2-2. You see his reaction. Then you have time to go look at it. Torres is being tended to. Amazing. The 2-2 pitch. That pitch at 98 miles an hour. It goes to 3-2 on Tejada. Mott has thrown 26 pitches and trying to record this 5th out. Tying run is on. Extends it to Daniel Murphy, who has already hit a 2-run homer.
Not over yet, but Cardinal fans got a thrill when at one moment you're thinking, how is Jason Mott going to pitch around a leadoff double in the 9th inning with a run lead with a guy like Cedeno who hits us well, and the next thing you know, that leadoff runner is retired on that play and still just 1 out away.
Popped up left side. Freeze will give chase, and that'll find the seats. Strike 1. A single, a walk, a 2-run homer today for Daniel Murphy to go along with a ground out to short.
It is feeling like September baseball here today. Exactly what it is, but close game, important game, fun moments. Just hope it ends well.
inside. Outfield is very deep. Ball in the gap. Pretty good speed at first base. And their leadoff man, Tejada. He stands at first with 2 down. How many times do you think you've seen that call in Major League Baseball?
Half dozen times. I'm not sure I've ever seen one as close, although one other point in the umpire's favor is really no objection from Torres. The objection came from the manager. He would have gone bonkers had he thought he touched the base. I think.
1-2. And the first base coach. Not much of a problem with that call from him either. Again, the Mets down to their final strike, and Busch Stadium is alive. The 1-2. Fly ball into right field. Shane Robinson. The glasses are on. The Cardinals take game 1 of the series here on Labor Day. And you talk about a wild finish. Our Budweiser player of the game, Jason Mott, a 5-out save with a little help with a base running gap. Central standings, Cardinals 8.5 back, but look at the wild card. The Cardinals put up a win. They stay pace with Atlanta, 3 back of them, but they put a little bit more pressure on Los Angeles. They will play San Diego tonight.
And save number 33 for Jason Mott, and he absolutely earned this one today. Another good start from Joe Kelly, and the Cardinals with a very, very entertaining win on this Labor Day.
It's on to the postgame show. We hope you stay with us. Lots to talk about, including that play. Andres Torres, apparently he misses the bag at first. The Cardinals appeal, and what do you know? It pays off. 5-4 the final.